story tells of a long time ago, when the river known as the Georges River, Keima, joined Gulyari or Cook's River and flowed through the swamps that once were Botany Bay. At that time, the clan living along the river decided that they'd make a trip to the lands of Wirrambirra to give thanks to the Creator Spirit for giving them such a good place to live. Now, the younger members of the clan were not happy about leaving their hometown and travelling for many days along Keima into the deep gorges and rough lands just to give thanks to the Creator Spirit, which they had said had done nothing for them. They wanted to stay behind and fish and hunt in the swamps whilst the knowledge holders made the journey. The knowledge holders tried to explain to the young ones that it was because of the Creator Spirit that they were able to enjoy the things that they did, but the young ones did not want to listen. So the knowledge holders went off, leaving the young ones behind. However, one, a warrior named Keimia, decided to stay with the young ones to ensure their safety and tried to talk them into taking the long trip up Keima to fulfill their duties to the Creator Spirit. The knowledge holders had been gone for several days when a great storm came up and the huge waves washed into Keima, destroying much of the swampland that they had used for their food gathering. The waves crashed into the shores so fiercely that they washed over the land. The young ones, persuaded by the warrior Keimia, made their way inland along Keima, but still the great waves followed them. Finally, they reached a place where the waves could not reach them, and they stopped to rest in a small valley. The warrior named Keimia told them that they had acted wrongly in refusing to go with the knowledge holders and give thanks to the Creator Spirit. But we must not follow the old ones, he told them. We must give thanks for what we have. Another young warrior stood up. It is useless to give thanks for what we have. We have nothing. The waves have taken away what we had. At that moment, there was a great flash of lightning and a great clap of thunder, and the young ones saw a great cave that could give them shelter from the driving rain. They ran into the cave and huddled there, trying to keep warm. Keimia tried to talk to the young ones, telling them it would not be far to the special place, that since they had travelled this far, they may as well go the rest of the way. But the young ones were reluctant to go into the storm. They stayed into the shelter of the cave. Suddenly there was a great sound of thunder, worse than before, and the ground shook violently. Some of the young ones ran to the front of the cage, but were crushed by the falling rocks. Others ran to the back of the cave, only to finding themselves trapped in the darkness. Keimia was amongst those who ran to the back of the cave, and his eyes grew used to the darkness. He saw a tiny splinter of light coming from the deep within the cave. He made his way to it and looked up to see the great stormy sky. He told the others who were crying out or sobbing to be quiet and to come and help him climb up the crack in the roof of the cave. Several of the young warriors stood below the crack, and by climbing onto their shoulders, he found that he could reach a small overhang, and he pulled himself into the crevice. With great difficulty, he began to make his way towards the light, where he once again felt the earth shake beneath him. Hoping to reach the knowledge holders, Keimia made his painful way along Keima towards the special place, but he was very badly hurt and fell many times until he was too weak to travel any more. He cried out for help, hoping that someone would hear, but the only answer he received was from the thunder. "Oh, Great Spirit," he cried, "help my brothers and sisters." Then the warrior Keimia died. Now, nearby, sheltering from the storm under a great log, were some warriors from the Wirrambirra. They heard his cries and came to find his body laying on some white sand. "There must be others," they said. "We must follow his tracks." But they had travelled only a small distance when they found the rain had washed away his tracks. "Look at this," said one, pointing to a small plant with blood-red tips on its leaves. "And there is another." Whenever the blood of Keimia had fallen, a small plant had grown from the stand, and on top of the cave where Keimia had first fallen, there were great plants like the smaller ones that had followed. On top of this giant plant was a great flower that looked like a clot of blood held aloft by a great spear. The Wirrambirra warriors knew that this is where the young ones were trapped. They were trying to remove the rocks as the knowledge holders passed by. When they saw the body of Keimia, they realized that it was their young ones that were trapped beneath the rocks. For many days they worked hard trying to dig a way into the cave, but the voices of the young ones grew weaker and fewer until there was silence. Sadly, the knowledge holders returned to their homeland to find that what they had once known was no longer. Instead of the swamps, there was a great bay, and where Keima had met the sea, there was a high mountain of sand. Now there are stories of how the young ones are still living in the great caves below the ground, seeking a way out, and how the spirit of Keimia still searches for them. Now it is said that wherever you see the flower of Kemia, you know that the spirit of Kemia was there, still searching for his brothers and sisters. And when you look out across the great waters of Keima, you will remember what happens when you show disrespect to the Creator Spirit and allow the spirit of this land to weaken. But the Creator Spirit recognized the bravery of Kemia and decreed that the giant plant which grew wherever his spirit had paused to listen to the voices of his brothers and sisters would forever be in the memory of his bravery.